Okay, we are now recording. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the March 17th, bi-weekly in-person meeting for SIG Contributor Experience. I'm your host today, Bob Gillen, one of the co-chairs. As a FYI, I think everyone is quite familiar with this, but we abide by the CNCF Code of Conduct, which essentially boils down to please be excellent to each other. These meetings are recorded and get posted to YouTube generally within 24 hours. So, please be excellent to each other. With that, let's see. Oh, okay, Laura, you already volunteered for note taker. Cool. Is there any, do you want to do a few intros? Sure. I kicked off. Allison, why don't you go next?
Hello, I'm Allison. I am a co-chair of SIG ContribEx alongside Bob here. And yeah, hi.
We'll play the hot potato game. So, toss it to someone else.
Okay, I'm going to toss to Laura.
Hello. I'm Laura Santa Maria, and I haven't been here in probably nearly a year now because work exploded when everything went sideways. So I'm back. Hi. And if you need me, I am currently trying to help reboot the community meeting. But that's what I do here.
Go ahead and pick the next person.
Yeah, I muted and I was still saying someone's name. It's okay. I'm going to toss it to Chris.
Hi all, Chris Short here, CNCF ambassador and SIG ContribEx member for a long time. I work at Red Hat and here to help, as always. Mostly always. And I will toss it over to the wonderful Josh Burkus, who might not be listening. Oh, there he is. I think your camera froze.
And I don't know why. I'm Josh Burkus. I've been in the SIG for quite a while. Work on various things, although I've been kind of overwhelmed with the day job lately. Mostly participating in the mentoring group, but Rajula?
Hi, I'm Rajula. I work at CERN. I mostly attend the contributor marketing meetings on Fridays, but I was planning to start attending these as well. But yeah, hope to see myself here more often. Yeah, I'll toss it to maybe Alex.
Hi, my name is Alex. I don't know, first time here. I was tempted to find a side project, and rather than resurrecting my self-important blog, I asked Bob how I could help, and Bob said help. So here I am trying to figure out what it is that I can do to contribute.
Let's see. I think that kicks it over to Eddie now.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, I'm Eddie Zaneski. Alex, I'm sure your blog is filled with writing about how you deploy your blog, as every blog is destined to be. I'm the co-chair of SIG CLI, and the stars have aligned because I'm usually not able to join this meeting because you moved the meeting time to overlap with SIG CLI. So glad to be here. And let's tag Matthew next.
My mouth is full with a late breakfast. Somebody else.
You're the last person, but we can.
I could do an intro for him, maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say we all ought to do intros for you.
No, I'm Matt. I like peanut butter, which is not opportune when introducing yourself. I'm the lead of the subgroup Upstream Marketing community. I've been contributing to the Kubernetes community for the last year, helping bootstrap that and work with the awesome crew there to get great stories out there. And we have a mission of helping non-code contributors get started in interesting ways and see that they're valued in our community. So that is most of what I'm up to. I work at Red Hat with Chris Short over there, which is pretty wonderful. and I live in Minneapolis. I don't know exactly what we were covering, so I'm just going to cover the bases. The end.
Okay, that should be everyone. With that, we can kick things right off. I know office hours happened today. I don't have any details on it. Did anyone happen to give it a watch?
I watched like the first, I think 30, 40 minutes of it. I thought it was great, right? Like it was engaging. People were asking questions. We were giving answers. It was awesome.
I know for the first time, we actually had too many volunteers.
That's amazing.
With that, I think we'll skip right to community meeting.
And that's me. And I can add notes afterwards. So I have an email drafted and a Google Sheet. I dropped it last week in the threads for the async meeting on Slack, but I will drop it also into SIG ContribEx. Obviously, I don't think it's happening today because, we don't have any topics to talk about, but the basic idea is we're going to try to move it towards more of a discussion-based meeting about like, let's pick a topic that's important to the community right now, and we'll talk through it. I do have some outstanding questions that I think need to kind of get addressed. Mainly, do we pretty much open up the Zoom to everybody? And if so, how many moderators can we get to make sure that the code of conduct is taken care of and all that fun stuff? And ensuring that we stay on topic, stuff like that. So I don't really know what else we want to do with that. I know we did want to try to get announcements in the KEPs
KEPs, yep.
in there, KEPs. So I know that those are two things we want to keep from the prior format. But that's kind of where I am. It'd be great if people can proofread the email, which I will drop in the ContribEx channel after this. So that's where we are.
Just a quick note on the moderation and Zoom meeting and all that. We can repurpose our old docs about it. We usually have just a host and co-host, and that's enough to actually handle the moderation tasks.
Okay, as long as that's enough, because I'm always leery about having just like one or two people trying to manage everybody. Figure out who do I mute, who do I make sure is paying attention.
We've been pretty good with it being like, with people coming in on auto mute. And then, it's rare that we actually have to boot someone.
Okay, sounds good. Well, that's my update for the community meeting. So
cool. Okay, any questions, comments regarding community meeting or events? Okay, this takes us into mentoring. Meet our contributors hasn't really happened. Something we can talk about like at the end of sort of our little stand-up-ish type thing here is sort of going through that sheet a little bit more and see if people want to take that up again. But again, we can save that one for a little bit later. Let's see. I don't think there are any updates. I don't see Ihor on the line. Does anyone have updates regarding like GSOC outreachy or any of that stuff? Okay.
There's been a call for mentors and projects. I don't know how many we actually got.
We got a lot of people who like reached out who are like, I wanna be a mentee, I want to be an applicant, but I think we didn't really have anyone reach out like, I have a project. So that kind of, yeah.
That's always been the big pain point. Like lots of people are interested in getting mentored, but we have few mentees, or not mentees, mentors with well-scoped projects. One of the things that's come up multiple times now is just like we have a lot of little things, but we kind of need like an actual 2-month-long project to hand off to someone.
So like I said, I'm new here. Would this group like field a few ideas and then try to get other SIGs to put to flesh them out, or are we looking for other SIGs to actually propose the ideas?
It's usually like we tend to serve as the shepherds for the programs, and we try and come up with some ideas. But for the most part, we're reaching out to other groups to see, you know, like, hey, this is coming up. This is a great opportunity. Do you have anything in mind? Do you have the bandwidth to do this? Bandwidth, of course, has been a very big problem this past year. You know, it's sort of, it is what it is there. Josh or Allison, do you have any other comments regarding the mentoring stuff?
Well,
When's the new mentoring meeting?
it is next week on Tuesday,
Cool.
I believe. Hang on, let me check. Or was it Monday? Hang on. It's next week on Monday at 3 p.m. GMT. Yeah.
That is looking at my calendar. 11 a.m. PT. So 8 a.m. or sorry, 11 a.m. ET, 8 a.m. PT. There we go. That just happened to be the time that worked best for everyone. 8 a.m. Mondays. Oh, whoops, I accidentally closed the agenda. One sec. Okay, any questions regarding that? Or, well, we can dive into the new contributor workshop too. That will be one of the big focuses for the upcoming mentoring meetings. The new contributor workshop has had like a lot of stuff sort of spec'd out and the scope of works defined, but there's been an sort of just a lack of people being able to record and produce the content for the workshops, or for the workshop, sorry. Any questions, comments regarding mentoring?
Real quick, when you're saying that you're having trouble finding people able to like record and produce, are people able to record, just not able to like kind of cut it together and make it pretty? Because I can do that.
Honestly, like both. It's assembling the, like we have the sort of stuff scoped out for the slides. Actually, Allison, you probably know this a little bit more than I do. Do you want to update this?
Yeah, I'll comment on this. So we have a lot of like stuff scoped out in terms of slides and like presentations. I think a big challenge now that we actually have is we need to kind of go back and reevaluate what stuff really needs to be like a video and recorded talk, because recording talks and like doing this kind of recorded content, it is a high overhead in terms of like you need to shell out time and do multiple takes and all that. Whereas some of the smaller bite-sized areas, like we could aim for doing maybe like a written guide, like a written kind of tutorial learning stuff on those kind of smaller parts, and then in future aim for those to be in videos. So that's just kind of like a bunch of thoughts there from hope that it addresses the question. Yeah.
I think one of the big problems that we're having is that a lot of the people who volunteered to record certain segments, I know it's been true of me, are also responsible to their employer for doing quite a number of recorded sessions for various online events. And unfortunately, the NCW is the one that comes without a job review deadline. And as a result, because I know I volunteered for one segment, I took one shot at recording it, it wasn't good enough. And then I've never gotten back to it. Because like I just spent the last solid week recording stuff for Red Hat. And if you look at who volunteered for sessions, a lot of it's the same. The one exception would be the New Zealand team has taken on build and test. And their delay is they've been building up a whole infrastructure to actually make it a followable thing. So they're taking on the really hard work around that, but that's proved to take a lot more time than they expected.
Shout out to Hippie and crew. Aye.
Is it just the fact that people don't have time to record all of it all at once kind of deal, or do we need like a producer for this to like hunt people down and get them to record? I'm wondering.
That would be helpful, and so would Laura's thing of polishing it up would be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially. I feel like this is a lot of stuff that in the next mentoring meeting, I hope that we can have like a bit of like a refocus kind of discussion on like what we kind of need to like minimize down on and like maximize for. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, comments regarding mentoring? Otherwise, we might punt that entire discussion to the upcoming mentoring meeting. Okay. Next is community management. On the chair need to know email. I don't know of any other immediate things that should go on it. Does anyone have anything that like the lead should know? Well, outside of, I should say, outside of the contributor survey and the annual reports, is there any items that people can think of that should happen to go to all the leads? Okay. I don't think there's also been any APAC updates. I know Nikita has mentioned that has kind of like, along with the APAC meeting, has kind of stopped happening just because people have lost bandwidth for it and they're trying to be more async about it. Any other community management items? Okay, that will take us to DevStats. I actually have a update here. I'm going to grab a link, but very soon DevStats will be able to have, for those of you that aren't familiar, DevStats is a site where you can look at a bunch of metrics about the project. And it has like a bunch of dashboards and other useful things. But the problem is most of those dashboards aren't useful for us and often require a lot of like teasing stuff out. But they're going to be implementing changes soon so that we will be able to get everything down on a per repo, per SIG. And for those of us that happen to work for a company that cares about the number of contributions, a per company breakdown. And that is being tracked in that issue right there. But yeah, it should hopefully land within the next week or two. The one other comment on the dev stats and dashboards in general. The other thing that we plan to do, and this sort of ties into the Kubernetes contributor site a little bit, but we want to actually add a section on the contributor site where we can add dashboards sort of with our like annotations on what people should look at and how to interpret the data and how to make it useful. If you want to see a brief whip of what this would look like, I'll drop a link in chat. Essentially, it's embedding a chunk of dev stats in an iframe, if you're familiar with that sort of thing. But once the changes land in dev stats, we want to do that sort of thing there. Any questions, comments regarding dev stats? Okay, marketing.
Hey, gang. We have been up to good things over in the Upstream Marketing team. I just wanted to give a quick update that we've kind of positioned the goal of the group is to have like a no code way of contributing to Kubernetes and really encouraging that. And just want to report back that that's working well. We've had 2 people consistently showing up and now being active contributors. Now that they know that they don't have to know Git, they don't have to open GitHub issues. We're just hanging out in Google Docs, and I'm managing some backlog for us to keep track of stuff. And a couple others are coming in and out based on availability. So it's really growing that community of participants, and I think it's a good pitch for us, and gonna continue to refine that and try to make it not just like a pitch, but also like an experience people can have consistently. When it comes to what we're working on, the contributor survey is first and foremost. So we've sent out Google group message and a number of tweets. Rajula's on point there. But I just want to ask, where are we at in that, Bob or others that have access to the survey? How are the results? Quantity-wise?
I have not looked lately. Josh, do you? I know I asked you last week to take a peek. Do you have an idea on what our numbers are now?
Come back to us, Berkus.
Yes.
Wherever you've gone.
There we go. Hey, I'm not logged in right now, but I checked yesterday, and we had 55 respondees. Historically, the only way we've gotten a lot of respondees to that survey has been getting a couple of like the project founders to push it. I think people are distracted right now.
Fair. Yeah, we can pick that up and try to do a little bit of a campaign from people that have decent followings. Try to stretch that a bit further.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the issue is that we only actually want contributors to respond. I don't know if
this is a lesson that we learned the hard way, I think 2 years ago, right? Like I accidentally tweeted it out and a bunch of non-contributors answered.
Yeah. So I don't have an analysis of the current quality of the data, but then we also have to ask ourselves, are we better off with a relatively low number, like, 50 to 75 people that we pretty solidly believe are actually contributors versus potentially, attracting a bunch of people to fill out the survey who are not, but don't clearly indicate that they're not?
Yeah, no, we're fully with you that the quality over quantity is definitely the win. I just maybe naively, but in my heart of hearts, believe there are more than 75 people hanging out in SIGs.
I think most people are just not filling it out because, this is our third one. It doesn't really have anything except, sort of standard, questions on it that people have seen before. And so I think there's no particularly strong interest in filling it out, if you follow me.
Sure. Have you heard any feedback directly, or is it educated guess on what people are feeling?
I have not gotten any feedback outside people's like, oh yeah, I should probably fill that out.
Yeah.
So it's not a motivator at the moment.
Yeah.
I do think, sorry, Josh.
I was gonna say, I don't believe SurveyMonkey tells me this. It would be interesting if it did to find out how many people actually started the survey and did not complete it.
Yeah.
I think they do give you that stat, but after you close the survey.
Yeah, I think it's at the end.
So I guess my question would be like, could maybe we just explain the value of the survey? I don't know if we have already, but like if we just kind of put up an informal message in like some of the Slack channels is saying, hey, I know you've seen this before, but here's where we use it, or something like that.
Yeah, we do have a little bit in the preamble of the survey. The other thing that I think will help is like, Rajula and I were talking just before the meeting, the messages to all the Slack channels about the survey. And then the other thing was essentially messaging the individual mailing lists. We wanted to try and get most of the leads to sort of push that. And I know a couple SIGs are bringing it up in their SIG meetings directly. PS, if you haven't taken the survey, please take the survey. But that's where I think we will get more actual sort of follow-up. That was the individual messaging to like the lists and the pings in Slack that got us the most responses last year.
And Rajula, do you want to give an update on where are you with kind of the Slack message and how you're feeling about that?
Yeah, so we're just discussing about the channels that we need to add the bot to. And then I'll just draft a message, get a review from the ContribEx Slack channel, and then probably will push it tomorrow.
Very cool. Good deal. Okay, so we'll keep pushing there. If other ideas come up, hit us asynchronously in Slack, and we'll try to keep edging that number up, but from people that are active contributors. I think we can make that happen.
Worst case, if we want to try more of a, blitz, if like say the 21st rolls around and we still only have like a small number of survey respondents, then we extend it for a week and do much more of a comms blitz. I personally would like us to get at least 130 respondents, because that's roughly 10% of our org members.
There you go. That's a good stat to have.
Ideally more, but again, 10%, if it's mostly people that are active within the project, I would consider that good.
Cool. Very, very cool. All right. Yeah. And I'm going to continue down a series of tweets that encapsulate what we just mentioned from the Kate's contributors Twitter handle, but light following, but very retweeted by important people in our community. So that's awesome. But like giving that target of, hey, we're at 55, we won't call this successful until we hit 130. So please fill this out if you are actively contributing. And yeah, okay. Other things that we've got going on, we've got articles in progress. We just switched back over to a project on GitHub and using just like the little lightweight cards that you can put into there to track it, as opposed to GitHub issues for articles. That way people don't have to manage the issue, and it's not kind of attached to the delivery of a milestone, because it's a slightly different flow here. So we're back to experimenting with that. The TLDR, we've got a very cool article on Michelle that's going to get PR'd in this week. I'm working with Bart, who wrote it. He's not as familiar with Git, so we're going to pair on that and get it in. And then we've got a series that will be the first on the .dev domain. Our target is to get those in by KubeCon EU, and it's about your contributor contribution. Wow, that's incredibly redundant. It'll be more interesting than that sentence. About the first one out there is Chris Short on how he contributes as a non-code contributor. I wrote one on like how I focus my contribution to 4 hours a week. That's doing well on another publication, and we'll republish. So just more of those stories. And if you are interested in sharing, we can go from a couple paragraphs into a good article with our help. So please reach out if you have an idea, or just DM me some thoughts and we can take it from there. Last but not least, we have these umbrella issues that are kind of more programs that we want to have going forward, like the SIG highlights type articles. So we're shifting from, our intention is to archive those, close those issues in favor of systems that, if you show up to an Upstream Marketing and you're like, I want to write something, we send you to a Google Doc that has one of the SIGs that you could talk to, and maybe some quotes that people have put in already. So trying to build more systems as opposed to long living issues that will probably never close.
One thing I would suggest there is at least document it in GitHub in the community repo of like just what programs you're essentially doing, so that way we have a, you know, canonical source of truth being tracked in Git sort of with everything. I know it's sort of like a separate process, but we should still try and like outline that stuff there.
Totally.
With our
Yeah.
other programs.
100% with you. Like, yeah, anything that gets to the point where we're like, hey, this is a thing that we do, it should absolutely be in our GitHub repo. And we intend to maintain that, like, as maintainers of the subgroup. Or my goal is to just not ask new contributors to go PR that in. Like, it's a heavier lift than and it's every time we ask somebody to do that, they don't show up again. So I'm just, correlation is helpful there. But I hear you, Bob. Yeah, we don't want to leave stuff just hanging out in Google Docs and on personal accounts. We'll document it better than that.
Cool.
Any questions there? Cool. All right. Thanks all.
Okay. That kicks us over to contributor docs. I don't have any updates regarding the guide. The developer guide audit is still progressing. If you happen to be involved in any other SIGs, please have just give them a little reminder to take a look at those outstanding issues. And again, they don't have to write the documentation, but if they can call out specifically the stuff that they know is out of date or is missing, that will be incredibly useful for us going forward. And then I gave sort of the contributor site update earlier with it being moved over to the Kubernetes org. I think I might have mentioned this before being recorded, but there is also interest in localizing that content, and that will probably start up soon-ish. Does anyone have any questions regarding contributor docs? Okay. GitHub management. I think the only big thing here is that we are really in progress with the renaming the repos. You might have seen some comms flying by regarding kates.dev/rename. We're still sort of teasing out some of the details of this process because there's a lot of little conditionals that could cause more problems for your workflow when migrating your default branch name from master domain. But that will be our sort of canonical source of truth for that documentation. Please refer people to kates.dev/rename. Does anyone have any questions or comments regarding GitHub management? Okay. No real update on Slack infra. And that takes us to open mic discussion. Excuse me. Eddie, you have something?
I just had a quick one, hopefully. So in the past, since Code Freeze, I've had a bunch of new contributors pinging on PRs that have been approved post Code Freeze, and just asking hey, what does it take to get this merged in? Obviously it will merge after Code Freeze is thawed, but have we ever talked about adding just a part of the notification? If it's approved post Code Freeze, we can have a note in there that hey, this is Code Freeze, or
honestly, people don't look at those notifications. We have enough problems with people reading our messages from our bots as it is. The other thing, some things can be merged in. Those are bug fixes or things that need to be cherry picked.
Yeah, I'm talking just generic changes that don't have to get rushed in now.
Yeah. Maybe if we I think as a prerequisite, we have to look at our other bot messages because we already have problems with people ignoring them as it is. Before we add more potential, I don't want to say noise, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I would kind of respectfully separate those two. I think Eddie's point of like having knowing a message is going out to something during code freeze, even if it is amongst other messages, like it'd be nice to get that in as a feature. And then like there's a much larger effort of, auditing what goes out. But I wouldn't want to block Eddie's request on that personally. Just slightly different scope for me.
I got you. The other, not necessarily, this wouldn't be a GitHub notification, but the other thing we've talked about was using like the announce bot to, when code freeze is happening, announce the deadlines in Slack, as well as like the other large release milestones. See, does anyone else have any other questions, or I don't want to say questions, comments, but any other thoughts on this?
How often does it happen? Do we know? Like, is it a lot or is it like a handful after code freeze?
I noticed it a ton before I became a SIG chair, but I'm noticing it a lot more now that I'm an approver and I'm the one approving the PR and people are following up on it.
Yeah. I guess what I'm just thinking is like, if they're new, this is almost like a new contributor thing even of itself, because they might not know where to go get that information. They might not know we're in code freeze, even though it's like out there, it might be hard to find. It might even be something worthwhile to have like on the contributor site. Like maybe there should be like a website that explains how code freezes work that we could just link.
We do have some of that in the contributor guide already.
Yeah.
On the site, it's just not. Yeah.
Yes. So if it might be easy to link, maybe that's a really simple thing saying, hey, you're new. We love having you. Maybe there could be like a new bot instead of just all the notifications bots. It's like a new bot that just says, hey, here's a link to more information about where we are in the code freeze process and something like that. I don't know. It's just kind of I can easily see somebody going, where do I go to find this information? I don't know. It's easier for me to leave a comment because a lot of people do that.
It's been about a year since I was on a release team, but in my experience, actually, the largest plurality of people trying to push feature PRs without filing an exception during code freeze were actually regular contributors who had been gone for a couple of months and had come back and not realized we were in code freeze.
That's good to know.
So one other potential idea, we have the release schedule there. And I know we've talked about this in the past, but maybe like essentially like a banner at the top of the page or something. So when you go to it, just says like, hey, code freeze is in effect, with a link to, the details about the freeze, or, enhancement freeze or something like that. So we can literally just tell people to go to kates.dev for the general state or status of the project. Okay. Any other last minute comments or thoughts on that? Okay. The last thing I want to, the item that I have to bring up that I forgot to put on the agenda is looking at the spreadsheet and prioritization that was sent out. And I need to actually find that link real quick. and I'll drop it in chat. So if you happen to miss this, we've had a lot of issues come up over the past year. Just, people have had to reprioritize and step away from things, but that's left a lot of areas and sort of like in our projects and initiatives that haven't been, staffed that well, and it's sort of fallen on to just a couple people, or in some cases, no people to maintain it. And so we were looking at sort of what things we must maintain and support, and make sure that we can at least staff those up to a good amount. A good example is the Zoom and YouTube admin. For a large part, that is honestly just been me popping into YouTube and pushing videos live, and it'd be nice to have some other people helping out with that again. But when we sent this out, we actually got a lot of people interested in picking up in certain areas and helping out, and just to have people had a chance to like take a look at the spreadsheet at all. I just want to make sure that we're automations to new folks. Yeah, they actually have for some of this stuff, for like the Zoom and YouTube thing, we have an outstanding issue about automating it, and basically trying to get away from Splane and use like Zapier for some of our stuff.
I can volunteer to help with that because I'm kind of like a Zapier was, I feel like,
Okay.
to an extent.
Yep. If you want to, I think there's an outstanding issue on it. I just don't have it handy.
Yeah, I'll find it. I think I've actually commented on it before.
Okay. But in any case, we've gotten a lot of people interested in helping out, which is awesome. Now I think it's just, sort of coordinating, directing the new effort. Oh, sorry, I have like the hiccups. Does anyone have any thoughts or comments on this so far?
I'm a little lost, but this is exactly what I meant when I said I'm willing to help. So, Bob, tell me what you want me to do, and I will do as much as I can, and then I will tell you no.
Oh, that's awesome, Paris. And Alex can definitely sync before really teasing out that conversation. We can at least in a meeting with everyone here,
Sure.
we can follow up on that one.
And I just want to reassure you, Alex, like showing up and being lost is pretty much the first 3-month plan to being a Kubernetes contributor. Like you're doing the work by being here. So thank you. Like you described most of my first 6 months, if not 3.
I mean, sure, but yeah, eager to help, and actually figured I'd join here because I think we should catch everyone who's eager to help.
And some of the other things in here isn't even necessarily staffing it up, but just where like we have, a low amount of active approvers, so it's getting more people reviewing. And in some cases, like the contributor site, we could use more people there, but like I haven't spent the time actually specking out all the issues and other areas where people can help. So that might be the sort of first real step on some of these things is just fleshing it all out so we can assign people to some of the stuff. Any other sort of questions, comments, thoughts on all this? I see chat flying by on the sidebar. Okay. Well, I don't have anything else on the agenda. Is there anything else that people want to talk about, at least on the record on this call?
So if folks are here that do want to get involved, I can give you a ton of areas that you can jump into right now that need help. So I don't know if you're cool with that, Alex, or if you don't want to stick around, obviously you can hang up. But there are several areas. I feel like I could staff like 50 people easy right now. So hold on, Alex, could you tell me a little bit? Like, I know that we might even want to stop the recording.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like at this point, we just say, everyone wave.
Yeah, bye everyone.
Thanks for coming.
Bye recording.